All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about the Chicago Bears. So even though Justin Fields went 3 of 3 for 129 yards and 2 touchdowns in just the first 2 possessions of their first preseason game, he's getting so much flack because people are saying, "Oh, he's just dropping it off to a screener." That's the freaking point. That means Ryan Poles is doing his job. When Justin Fields first stepped foot on an NFL field in live action, we knew from the get-go that this dude can run. We know he's one of the best running quarterbacks, one of the best mobile quarterbacks in the league. We saw him throw for over 40 touchdowns at Ohio State, and specifically in the last 10 or so games, that first preseason game and the last half of the season last year, we saw an efficient Justin Fields, we saw way less turnovers, and we saw a lot more touchdowns, both rushing and passing. So Ryan Poles last season, midway through at the trade deadline, goes out and gets a playmaker in Chase Claypool. They trade down from number 1 and get another playmaker in DJ Moore. They draft multi-versatile players like Rashawn Johnson, who can run, who can catch. They go out there and fill out your tight end room. You get a great blocking veteran, a great leader to have, a vocal leader in the locker room in Mercedes Lewis, and his former teammate in Robert Tonyan, who's a huge red zone threat to pair up with Mr. Cole Kmet. The Bears' future is unbelievable. And we're going to talk about a couple of things in today's video pertaining to their offense and also a little bit about their defense from their first preseason game and their offseason in general. But before we do, if you guys enjoy it, be sure to hit the like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. I appreciate Bears fans. You guys are awesome. I'm going to week 1, Packers at Bears. I cannot wait. I know you guys can't wait either. But if we could try and get this video to 500 likes, that would mean the absolute world to me. Justin Fields is a stud, okay? And if you have the advantages that Justin Fields has, i.e., you can run like a freaking madman and you can sling it anywhere on the field, you need to take advantage of all of your advantages, right? It sounds so stupid. It sounds so silly, but like the simple addition of DJ Moore is an absolute game changer. I mean, DJ Moore in his own regard is just relatively underrated. This is a guy who, prior to this past season, which he, by the way, with the dysfunctionality with the Panthers offense, he still had 900 receiving yards. The 3 years prior to that, he had over 1,100 receiving yards in each of the 3 seasons. DJ Moore is a walking playmaker, and he's a huge X factor for the Chicago Bears team. The low crossing routes, the wide receiver screens, the running back screens, these are things that the good offenses do. Think Patrick Mahomes. Think of all the versatility and all the creativity, even though you already have a stud in Patrick Mahomes, right? It's this yin and yang. It's how you get to that next level. It's how you reach greatness. DJ Moore, and it's not even just DJ Moore. The Bears wide receiver room is really talented. Darnell Mooney. If you have Darnell Mooney out there for every game this upcoming season, he's going to have over 1,000 receiving yards. If you have Chase Claypool healthy for this upcoming season, he's going to have at least 700 receiving yards. And don't forget about their savvy veterans that aren't even really veterans. They're just guys who have been in the league for a while, and they're reliable pass catchers. I'm looking at you, Equanimeous St. Brown. I'm looking at you, Dante Pettis. And then they have new, younger players. Interesting, deeper players like Isaiah Ford, really recent addition. Velus Jones Jr., who, the fumble issues are absolutely devastating, but he still can run. He's still extremely fast. They're going to be able to get him into some opportunities in game time, right, as long as he's holding on to the football. And new addition, Tyler Scott, who was extremely talented in his final season at Cincinnati. And for some reason, he wasn't the first wide receiver drafted. It was Trey Tucker from Cincinnati. We already talked about the tight end room. The running back room is almost the Bears running back room is almost too deep. It's almost too deep. Khalil Herbert, who had 56-yard reception touchdown in that screen in the first preseason game. He had 57 receiving yards last season. He almost reached his last year's total in the first preseason game. But you have Khalil Herbert, you have new addition Dante Foreman, who absolutely lit it up once CMC was gone. And now you have a rookie in Rashawn Johnson, who's going to be kind of like this hidden gem in your back pocket. You picked up Travis Homer, who is an extremely reliable third down receiving back. The dude can block, the dude can catch, he can do a little bit of everything. I haven't even forgotten about Treston Ebner. there's almost too much depth at running back. And then the offensive line, I have concerns with like if Tevin Jenkins can stay on the field, but Braxton Jones at left tackle, the long-term trajectory looks unbelievably promising, especially considering where they drafted him as late in the draft. He's a Southern Utah guy. Actually, before I went to Loyola Chicago, I went to Southern Utah. He's the only football player I know that got drafted out of Sioux. But right tackle solved with Darnell Wright. You got probably the best offensive tackle in the entire draft, if not, definitely a top 3. You picked up Nate Davis in free agency, and then you've got Cody Whitehair and Lucas Patrick at center. The Bears' offensive line is healthy. They're going to be so much more improved than they were last season, and we saw that at the end of the year for the Chicago Bears. Defensively, we've talked about their secondary. Tyrique Stevenson, second-round draft pick out of Miami. This guy's going to be an immediate stud. Like, literally, he's going to be an immediate stud. Kyler Gordon entering year 2 along with Jaquan Brisker. In my first Bears video, I compared Jaquan Brisker to Ed Reed this time last season, and I still believe it. I think this dude is a future several-time Pro Bowler. But, you look at the secondary, you got Jalen Johnson, Jaquan Brisker, Eddie Jackson, Tyrique Stevenson, Kyler Gordon. It's a super deep secondary. New linebacker unit. You got Tremaine Edmonds, TJ Edwards, new addition to Marcus Walker on the edge, Yannick Ngakoue. You saw Zach Pickens, Trevon Dexter make huge impacts in their first game in preseason, their first live reps in the NFL. Trevis Gibson had a huge bounce back preseason game. He's coming off a really down year, but the year before that in 2021, he had 8 sacks and 5 forced fumbles. Like, the dude can play. One thing that not too many people are like we said at the beginning of the video, everyone's looking at that Bears first preseason game. They're like, oh, it was a fluke. Justin Fields is a fluke. What people aren't realizing outside of Bears fans was how good that defense was. No matter who it was, whether it was Malik Willis or Will Levis, these guys had almost no time to do anything. The Bears, at the end of the day, had 8 sacks. I don't care that it's a preseason game. The Bears had 8 sacks. They had 8 sacks. It's unreal. A lot of these guys are people who, a little bit deeper, more rotational players or younger players. Noah Sewell. You got the 2 rookies coming on in here that we just talked about, Zach Pickens and Trevon Dexter. You had, Jalen Harris had a sack and a half. They were just ramming the quarterback. They had 11 total quarterback hits. The QB had no time. The defense did a really, really good job. And that defense, I know they got rid of all of the bigger time the bigger time soon to be free agents, guys like Roquan Smith, etc. This past trade deadline, the past couple of seasons, but the new look Chicago Bears defense, they're headed on the right track. They're not going to be the worst in the league. And I think they'll be around middle of the pack. And if that offense can put it together like we saw in the first preseason game, they're going to win a bunch of football games. If that defense can get stops when they need to, and the offense can get touchdowns as opposed to field goals when they need to, convert in the red zone, i.e. I'm looking at you, Robert Tonyan, 11 touchdowns in 2020. The Bears are a legitimate threat. If all of these additions are actually making this big impact like we saw in the first preseason game with DJ Moore, if Justin Fields probably will be an MVP convo if all things go the way they kind of look on paper, right? Don't want to get too ahead of myself. It is a first preseason game, but nonetheless, man, the hype is extremely high. So let me know what you're thinking about Justin Fields and the Chicago Bears offense and team in general based on the first preseason game. But that's it for today. Hit that like button, hit that sub button. If you want more Bears videos, let me know down below in the comments. But I appreciate you guys watching. Have a great rest of your day.